This is an RCView training, call log and event creation, updated June 29th, 2016. We will cover the following topics during this video. We will discuss the call log, we will discuss event creation, we will cover the components of the event widget, and we will also detail how to perform a full event search. First, let's discuss the event schema. Every time we create a new record in RCView, it is simply a record. We have to determine whether red cross action will be required. If the answer to that question is no, it will be logged as a call. If the answer to the question is yes, the record will become an event. We can also create events that do not originate from a phone call, and we'll see that in a second. Once we have an event, we have to determine if immediate action is required. If the answer is no, that would be a delayed action event. If the answer is yes, that would be an immediate action event. We will be able to pull metrics off of all calls, events, delayed action events, immediate action events. Once you get to an event that requires immediate action or not, that event must be dispatched. That is outside of this training, but it will be discussed in a subsequent training. Let's go to RCView. When I'm on my RCView dashboard, I will be a dispatcher here. You'll see the new call button. When you click on the new call button, a new call screen pops up. You'll see here that for the purposes of dispatch, most of our records will originate from a call. We could say no to that, and you'll notice that information here is dynamic. The boxes can be changed and do change depending on which fields may be selected. I'm going to say that this event originated from a call. The first thing you'll see at the top is a duplication check. This is a really powerful component to RCView. We will be able to see based off of a caller's last name, a caller's phone number, or the address of the event. We will be able to see a score that will help us determine if we have a duplicate call. Turns out Mrs. Jones may have called in 4 times, or her husband and her daughter called about an event at the same address. We may also see that multiple people are using the same phone. We can do these duplication checks dynamically. Let's look at this as we go through the call information. When I open the form, the date and time of call defaults to my current system time, which right now is 3:53 p.m. on June 29th. I can change that if I would like. I could re-click June 29th, and if I wanted to make that 4:53 p.m., pretty easy to do. The event address is the next field, and I don't have to fill these in sequentially. I could go from one side of the form to the other, but we put the most important and most useful information up at the top of the form. So let's take a look here at an address. You'll notice as I type, I'm hitting tab from field to field. I don't have to. I could click. I see here that the system is suggesting some addresses for me. It's also put a dot on the map of where I think I should be, or where the system thinks I should be. I'm going to say yes, this is correct. You'll notice that I have a latitude and a longitude. If I don't have a latitude and longitude, there is no way for the system to determine the geography of the point. You must have a latitude and longitude before clicking OK. Now, let's clear that for a second. Let's say I want to put in just a zip code. I can do that, and I get a latitude and longitude. I can select that. It knows it's in Arlington, Virginia. Generic, perhaps, but I still have the lat long. So let's do this. We'll go here. Click OK. You'll see the system starts spinning that duplication check. I've put in an event address. Somewhere in here, you'll see, it looks like I've got some potential zip code matches, earthquake, wrong numbers. I've got John Smith and Ronald McDonald here who have called in, and you'll see increasing number of stars. This is an algorithm that we have built. The closer that the address is to the match, if a last name is a match or if the phone number is a match, you'll see more stars. Let's say I want to check this earthquake out. Well, I can double click it. I go back to my main page in RCV. You'll see behind it actually just refreshed for me. Let me slide this over just a little bit more, and I could do some digging in here. Let's say, turns out this is a duplicate. All I do is check this box, and I could complete my information here other than putting in some call notes saying caller checking in on status, and I could click OK. We talked about requiring red cross action. Because require red cross action equals no, this would be logged in the system as a call that is associated to this record here. I look over at this record, this requires red cross action. So what this means is I would be logging a call and relating that call to an event. So I would be able to see over time, this event, this earthquake, has 5, 10, 20, 50 calls associated with it. Let's say it's not the same. So all I would do is uncheck that and continue filling out my form. So I could put in caller first name. You'll see when I put in the last name, the duplication check spins again, and it'll be thinking. It's going through all the records in the system. And I have the caller phone number, which I can put in. And I could have an extension. I also know that this is somebody who's reporting an event, and the type of caller is the agency. You'll notice now I have agency information that has populated my screen. I could be typing as we go into the call notes field. I might want to fill in the cross street or a neighborhood or a complex name. The important question here again is require red cross action. The answer to that is going to be yes. You'll notice there's even more information. So if it turns out to not be an agency and it's the client, the agency information goes away. If we go back to landlord, family or friend of client, you see additional information fields where we can capture some very detailed metrics. So we can know how many times a family or a friend of a client called in and what that relationship or what that status is. With our event information, this is where we determine whether it's immediate or delayed action. Most of our events will be immediate action, and we're able to select the multifamily fire event type or any one of our standard event types. I can capture the event date and time. Again, I could click on the date field here, the calendar, click on the 29th, defaults me to my current system time, which I can always and will likely change. If you don't know, or if the caller doesn't know the event time or even the event date, you could delete the time, you could delete the date. As of right now, none of these fields are required. We will be learning over time which fields need to be required as more regions come on board with RCView. Additional information that we can capture, you see here, number of units affected, adults, children, pets, injuries, fatalities, or any special medical needs. And we can capture any kind of assistance that's needed. These are the same questions that we ask as part of a disaster relief operation or a DRO. So there's some pretty powerful things in here. There are some regions that we found have some unique reporting requirements. So if this happened to be an event within the greater New York area, I could capture the number of alarms or an incident level. Most of our events, however, will not be in the greater New York area, so that would be no. Client information, we could fill in if the family or friend of a client called in. They might be telling us about someone else, so we could fill in the primary client's information for purposes of notification to the DAT team. If the caller happens to be the client, you would leave this blank because these fields will auto-populate. The last questions that we would ask as part of this would be, do we need to dispatch this to the region? That is a different section that we'll cover in another training, the actual dispatching component of RCView. So for right now, I will just say that this information will be filled out. It can be filled out automatically or manually, but we will not cover that in this training. So you see here the information fields that we can fill out. We don't have to fill out all of them. The most important ones are the event address, caller name and number, and then any call notes that we would have, followed by is red cross action required. So if I go ahead and save this, you'll notice it'll spin for a second, it'll think, and then it goes away. I need to go back to my home page because I was checking out this event earlier, so I click the home button. And what we'll see here is a whole list of different events that we have in the system. I can also take a look at the calls that have been logged. Now, what we see here for different events, in the event widget, we have address, the type of event, the county, the state, date and time of call, event status, any notification, who the duty officer on call might happen to be, and the dispatcher themselves. Notification type, I mentioned manual or automatic. That is designed to help the dispatcher understand whether that's something the dispatcher needs to do his or herself, or if it were automatic, that is something the system is working to dispatch out. The event status here for dispatch means that the dispatch needs to go out, meaning we have not yet found the appropriate duty officer. If the event status switched to assignment, it means a duty officer has been notified and the event is out of the hands of the dispatcher. What if I want to do a search on different events in the system? You'll see here they went and system saved my information, and you can also see that you get these pop-ups. And the system, when I say the system runs, it means there's a workflow working in the background where the system is calculating the event, the county of the event, and trying to find the appropriate duty officer. So let's take a look at doing a search. If I wanted to do a search, I would look at show me everything in the last 2 days. There's nothing been entered in the last 2 days. If I need to clear that search, I would go ahead and click, take a look here. So I have 2, and I hit enter. So there's nothing in the last 2 days. If I need to clear it, I hit enter, and I click back to home at the top. It refreshes and clears my search. I can also search by state. So I click the folder. Let me minimize this so you can see what it looks like at the top. You might see a screen that looks like this. I would click here, and I would select the appropriate state. So let me find Virginia. You can only search by state, so don't worry about county or zip code. I would click OK. I would click Apply User Roles. And I see here, anytime Virginia is listed as a state, I've got the Virginia filter. If I need to clear that, I hit Enter, and I click, again, the Home button. So that's my system refresh. You'll notice here that Virginia still shows. This was built in so that you could do a quick search again over time. So if I needed to do a quick search again, only show me Virginia, I go back to apply the user roles, and there are all of my events listed with Virginia in them. If I want to see incidents in full detail rather than just the dashboard, I can double click on an incident, on an event, and I will see the full event information. I would see any duty officers who happen to be on call. If there were a schedule built for this, I would see whether it is an automatic or a manual dispatch, and I'm able to see full event information here and edit it if need be. And there I am in my event form. Click cancel, and I could see if there were any duplicates associated with this. Again, if there were 4 or 5 calls that had come in, I could check that. Very useful. Now, if I wanted to see all events in the system, I would click on my Incidents tab across the top, and I would click on Events. And this way I can search through every piece of data that exists within an event. So if I knew something happened, there was a 45th Street incident, I would just type in 45th, and I would click Go. And here's 1810 Northeast 45th Street, Seattle. Let me take a look. Yep, that would be the incident I'm looking for, and I'm good to go there. So let me go back to my home page. It takes me here, and you'll notice again, every time you enter an incident, the system has to think, run a workflow, and determine the right duty officer schedule. If there's any events, any event status that needs to be assigned, it will say, is this a manual or automatic? It will assign a county to the event, and you'll find that the system refreshes the dashboard approximately every 15 seconds. This concludes the call log and event creation training. Thank you.